We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Boom! Headshot!
Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another League of Legends commentary. This time I want to talk about why by Vayne. Vayne is pretty much an absolute beast mode. Let's see if we can go ahead and find her here. She is an AD carry. Very, very powerful. Known specifically for being more of a hyper carry. One of the few champions in the game that holds that title. Hyper carry is in one that is capable of, if she gets fed, if she gets into a super late game situation and she's got a lot of kills in CS, she is going to be able to absolutely rip shreds through the enemy team with good positioning and some somewhat decent teamwork. But she just has some absolute monster damage output capabilities. A very, very interesting champion and a really fun champion to play. Capable of really, really high, tremendously high damage. Very mobile as well, which is definitely one of her strengths. Capable of really being difficult to pin down. If you're going against champions that have a lot of skill shots, Vayne can be a really excellent counter to that type of a playstyle. Let's get right into it. Let's start talking about her abilities, kind of what makes Vayne Vayne. Her passive is Night Hunter. This gives her a pretty strong movement speed bonus anytime she is moving towards an enemy champion. This is a really, really good passive that allows her to be very aggressive. It kind of makes her a little bit all in. She's best really kind of committing and going for the kill all the way till the end. But a very, very strong champion anytime you're trying to track somebody down and get a kill. One thing about this passive is they do have to be in vision range. It's not just enough for them to be close by. You actually have to have vision on them, and then you need to be running towards them to get the bonus. So definitely a strong passive. Makes her very, I think this is one of her abilities that makes her more, kind of gives her that assassin type of AD carry role, capable of really chasing down and tracking down the enemies and finishing off those kills. Now her Q, Tumble, this is her main ability, one that you will see me use almost constantly in lane. You pretty much just spam it. It's her position reset. It's a short little mini blink, technically a roll, not really a blink, but just allows her to reposition herself. And it also gives us a small damage boost to the next auto attack. So, nice little damage steroid. It also resets the auto attack timer. So you'll see me use it quite a bit when I'm last hitting in this early laning phase. Here with Sion against Ezreal and Teemo. Use it quite a bit to get in position and to finish off a creep. It's really, really good, especially if you're hitting under turret or any situation where you need just a little bit of extra bonus damage. Make sure you get that last hit. It's also really synergized as well with her other abilities, because Vayne very, very heavily, almost more so than almost any other AD carry, relies on excellent positioning. She's extremely dependent on strong positioning. So in this, as Sion goes down to a really nice Ezreal blink into a nice finishing burst there. But anyways, her Q, Tumble, it's a really strong ability. It's very cheap, only 30 mana. It also has a relatively short cooldown timer. And the more points you put into it, the shorter the cooldown timer gets. At maximum level, it's extremely short, to the point where you can almost spam it very, very consistently. It's, I believe at the end, it gets down to a 2-second refresh timer. So a very, very strong ability. You see me use it there to get out. It's not the best in terms of an escape. If you contrast it with something like Ezreal's E, or Caitlyn's E, or Graves' E, Tristana's W, it's not the longest range blink. It also does not go over walls. But it definitely is nice because you can use it a lot, and that's probably its signature ability. It's more than any other reposition on an AD carry. It's one that you can use very, very frequently. You can use it aggressively to get in position to land a Condemn, which is one of her other abilities that I'll talk about later. Just to finish off kills. You can use it to run away. It's just extremely important to really get a hold on and master. And it's also very easy to use. Basically, you roll to wherever your cursor is. Very, very straightforward and simple, easy to use. Great skill overall. It's the one that I max first. And for a newer player who's just picking up Vayne, this is the skill that I definitely recommend maxing first, just because it gives you a lot of power in lane. It gives you a lot of ability. It also helps with your last hitting. It looks like our guy Olaf's coming in for a gank here. He's going to be unsuccessful, it looks like. Or we might... Oh, he gets an undertow on Israel and cause him to burn his flash. And Olaf's going to take some turret hits there. So let's keep moving on. Her Silver Bolts, her W. This is probably Vayne's most important ability, I would say. It's also the one that makes her, the reason that she is considered a hyper carry, the reason she is picked is probably solely because of the Silver Bolts in many, many ways. It is extremely important to her kit, to her ability to do damage. Basically, you need to stack 3 auto attacks in a row on one target, and then the last one will do a percentage-based true damage based on the target's full maximum health. So I believe it starts at 4%, and max level gets up to 8%. So just if you do a little bit of math, let's say that your target has, let's say at level 18, your target has 3,000 HP. We're going to multiply that by 0.08. And that's going to give you an extra 240 damage. So that's a lot of bonus damage. And it's true damage, so it allows Vayne to really shred tanks. If opponents are stacking armor, it's really not going to be that successful against her, just because she has this ability to really, really shred opponents down. And it's really critical to her build as well. I really like to build attack speed on Vayne, simply because it synergizes so well with Silver Bolts. You can get those 3 quick auto attacks off and get that Silver Bolts proc for that true damage. It's just really, really handy. Oh, it looks like Cyan goes down again. Israel's doing a really good job early in lane. But a really, really strong ability. It is passive, so it requires you to get those 3 auto attacks. But overall, a very strong ability. Now, her E, her Condemn, is actually, it looks like I'm getting trapped here. I'm in a lot of trouble. Not really able to do anything, and I go down. So let's go ahead and speed things up. I want to get myself back on screen so I can talk about Condemn. Condemn is a really interesting ability, and it's probably the one that Vayne, it really separates the good Vayne players from the bad Vayne players. Condemn is basically a targeted shot that will knock back the enemy. And it also has a very interesting side note that if when you knock them back, if they run into terrain, they're actually stunned for a brief period of time, and it will do bonus damage. So Condemn is extremely important ability to really get a hold of and try to master if you're going to be playing Vayne. As I missed a couple of CS there, that's not good. But you really want to try to get a hold of using some Condemns properly. And there are some situations here early in lane where I think I do a great job of using Condemn. Oh, right there I used a Condemn, but I almost was able to knock it up against the wall there. It was really, really close, but not quite as... Oh, man. I'm going down. Cleanse does not get you out of Teemo's damage over time poison. But anyways, Condemn. So, really, I think the most important part of Condemn is the stun. It's really, really important if you're going to be playing Vayne. You really need to be making sure that you're landing those stuns. It's just absolutely crucial, critical, essential to be hitting those stuns. I cannot underestimate or understate it, just how crucial to her kit it is to hit those stuns. And really, Vayne, kind of, one of her trademarks is that she's not the strongest. Ooh, a nice pick up there on kill on Teemo there. She doesn't have the strongest laning phase, but I think that's mostly because I think sometimes people can have a hard time landing Condemns. Getting some really solid Condemns is essential to trying to set up some kills during the laning phase for Vayne. They're just absolutely crucial. It's definitely her greatest tool, and it really provides her with some interesting utility. When you get into a team fight in the jungle, is especially a fantastic place for Vayne because she can use those tight walls to get that stun off on a squishy target, a really high priority target. It also is a really interesting ability because it gives her some self peel later in the game. If you have an assassin coming at you, you can oftentimes almost get yourself out of it by using a really nicely timed Condemn. You can knock them away. You can use it to get that stun off, give yourself time to roll away with some tumbles. Overall, a very strong ability. I like to get 1 point in Condemn first and then max it last, just because the stun is always there. At maximum level, you're doing more damage, but the stun is always at 1.5 seconds. So It's more, I more use this spell primarily for its stun rather than for doing burst damage, but I know that it is also very viable, and there are some legitimate builds out there. Actually, right there, let's go ahead and take a look. So I do a really nice job. I see Ezreal here. I'm pinging the minimap as I see Ezreal and Elise going into the jungle here, and I'm going to follow in. I see Ezreal, and I'm going to tumble into and condemn. Boom, right there, and he's stunned. Able to, checking that brush is really risky, and able to pick up the kill there nonetheless. Now moving in on Elise. I see Pantheon, and I'm a little bit scared because I'm getting really low. At about 200 health. Pantheon, he didn't need me. He didn't see me. He doesn't know I'm there. He definitely could have bursted me down. But I'm going to get out of there because I don't feel safe. But that was a really good... Ooh, look, he's coming back, though. Is he going to come for me? No, it looks like it. See if I might be able to try to get on... Okay, he used his ultimate, and he's just going to land himself out in the middle of the lane there. But in that fight, that was a good example of using a Condemn to land a stun in the jungle like I was talking about earlier. Very strong ability. And as I was saying, it's also viable to max Condemn first, and that allows Vayne to be a little bit more bursty because, the more points you put into it, it reduces the cooldown, and it also increases the damage. It starts at 45 and goes all the way up to 185, and then that if you actually get the Condemn against a wall, that will double the damage. So, capable of outputting 370 damage plus all of your 1.0 AD ratio. Overall, very strong ability for more of a burst damage playstyle with Vayne, as I'm just absolutely trampling these mushrooms. Not a good idea. But I like to put 1 point in it just because I find that it is a high skill ability. Combining Tumble and Condemn is extremely reliant on your positioning, your ability to read enemy movement. And so I find that it is a little bit more difficult. So for a newer player, I think that it's better to max your Q first, and then use the Condemn for more of its utility rather than its damage. But if you're trying to be a little bit more bursty, maxing Condemn first is not a bad choice. Finally, her ultimate, Final Hour. This is a pretty big steroid. Grants a bonus attack damage and attack speed. And it also, anytime you use Tumble in Final Hour, you actually become invisible. So, very interesting ability. It's a very strong steroid, very, very strong. Basically, what you want to do is, anytime you're ready to get into a team fight, just pop your R, and make sure to use your Q, especially if you start to get targeted, because you can use that invisibility to remove the auto attacks that the enemies are trying to get off on you. But overall, it's a very strong ultimate. It synergizes very well with her kit. That increased movement speed combines really well with her passive. For chasing down enemy targets. It also works well with Ghost as a summoner spell. If you hit your R and your Ghost and your Night Hunter, you can pretty much catch just about anybody. You become insanely fast. It also allows you to really get in position with some tumbles to land some nice Condemns. Like I said, all of her kit synergizes very, very well for this type of role that she can play as the high damage, capable of doing a lot with her kit. So, we find Ezreal here in the jungle, but we're all kind of collapsing. Akali, Sign, and myself. I don't want to engage. I want to wait for my teammates to engage, and now we're going to try to really track him down. At this point, I believe that there we go. I popped my ultimate and land the kill on Ezreal using some tumbles to get myself in position. And now we're kind of moving back on Pantheon and Elise, who are taking this middle tower. They do actually successfully get the tower, and I don't feel... Vayne is very squishy. She's definitely an AD carry. Very, very fragile, and you do not want to be, just traipsing into fights head first. You want to definitely be following your teammates. So being aware of your positioning is extremely important. So those are all of her skills and abilities. I want to talk a little bit about itemization and builds on Vayne. If you're going for the standard AD carry build, almost all of the traditional AD carry items are going to work as we get into a pretty big fight here. Going to try to scare him away. You actually get cocooned by Elise. That kind of shuts me down a little bit. I realize that we're still in this fight. My team is collapsing in, and watch this. I'm going to tumble, hit a nice Condemn, get the shutdown, or get an assist, and there's a nice kill on Elise. And continuing to chase here after Riven, one auto attack, two auto attack, and there it is. There's the kill. So I get a nice double kill there. I'm gonna walk back and turn and take a couple of turret shots, but overall, just using my Tumble to get in position. I used my Condemn on Olaf to try to pin him up against this wall here. That was a really good position to use it to get that stun, make sure we get the kill. Or not on Olaf. Olaf is on my team. Pantheon, thank you very much. But overall, you know, as we get... Oh, okay, right there. Actually, that's another good position. Good thing to talk about. Another Condemn. So I see that Teemo's here, and I see Scion coming in from the jungle. And if you can see, Tumble, 1 auto attack, 2 auto attacks. Third one is a Condemn, landing the stun and securing the kill. That was a pretty easy, straightforward kill. Definitely a good use of Condemn there to make sure that we secured that kill against a very speedy Teemo. So again, talking about itemization as we pick up this dragon. At this game, I went for a Berserker's Greaves, which are the very standard 80 carry boots. Also went for some Doran's Blades. I think that the Doran's Blades are a very important item on Vayne just because she has a little bit of a struggle getting through laning phase. She doesn't have any, burst abilities. She doesn't have a lot of damage from her abilities other than just her auto attacks. She doesn't really have a lot of poke, so it becomes really important to use your items to try to help you through a pretty mediocre laning phase, I would say. I don't think it's bad by any stretch, but it definitely is not amazing. It's not as strong as someone, say, like Misfortune or Graves, who just have that strong pushing power, the ability to really bully people out of lane. I played a game against Urgot, actually, right before this one, and I really got bullied hard in lane, and was doing a lot of last hitting under tower. So, some Doran's Blades can really help, give you that extra health, give you a little bit of lifesteal, a little bit of attack speed. They're also very cost-effective items, but you trade that for, they don't scale very well into late game. You're going to eventually need to sell them off. But personally, I think they're a very good choice on Vayne. I like to get 2 of them, just depending on how the laning phase goes. And then this game, I went for I kind of was going for I got a couple of daggers to go for a Phantom Dancer. I would say that Phantom Dancer is probably the most important item on Vayne, just because it gives you that crucial attack speed. But I also got a Bloodthirster, just kind of the way that my gold was working out. I felt like I wanted, I know I had the extra 1500 at least to get the BF sword, which is kind of a big hurdle there towards a Bloodthirster. And also, the next time I came back, I just had enough, and so I picked it up. But I will say that specifically for 80 carry Vayne, because of her W, because it relies on landing 3 auto attacks, building attack speed is extremely important on Vayne. It's crucial to her kit as we catch Teemo split pushing out of position. Good stun by Scion. But building attack speed is crucial. I cannot underestimate it or understate how important it is to build attack speed. So items like Berserker's Greaves, Phantom Dancer, and then even the new Blade of the Ruin King, all those items work extremely well on Vayne. You want to build attack speed so you can proc those Ws as frequently as possible. I would say that makes her a little bit unique. I would say on some of the other 80 carries, building flat damage and focusing on crit chance is important. But on Vayne, I find that attack speed is extremely important. She doesn't really have an attack speed steroid. She has a couple of damage steroids in her Q and her R, and then also her W when you land 3 auto attacks. So building attack speed is really crucial. So I picked up my Phantom Dancer. I've got 2 Doran's Blades and a Bloodthirster. So I'm really starting to rack up the damage at 240. And overall, I'm in a good position. Really have made it through the early game. I'm up to 8-3. I'm going to pick up another kill there on Elise. Going to try to chase down this Riven. Gonna try to land an E. Wait for it. There's the Condemn and the stun. And we're going to hopefully pick up the kill. There it is. Okay, so a good job by Malphite and I to pick up a kill on Riven, who herself was quite fed. 173, she has 6 and 4. Oh, can we get another pick on Teemo? There's a nice kill. Good slow by Malphite, synergizing really well with my sheer output of damage. Good teamwork there by our team to pick up those couple of kills there on some stray Riven and Teemos. And I was going to try to take down this turret, but I see that my team is moving in for the attack. I'm going to make sure this turret goes down and try to make sure that my team stays safe. Israel, he's going to blink away, but I'm not going to chase. It looks like Pantheon's jumping up, and can I knock him away with my E and pick up the kill? Looks like Malphite's going to get one more. There we go. There's the kill on Israel. Using my Tumble to get myself in position for the kill there. Up to 12 and 3. So, again, relying on the Doran's Blades to get through the early laning phase, just focusing on CSing. If I can land a nice Condemn That's going to be your primary way to get kills in this early to mid game. And at this point, once I've started to get some nice attack speed items, as well as some sheer damage, I've got a Bloodthirster. I'm also going for an Infinity Edge with another BF Sword, and relying on Phantom Dancer for the attack speed. You know, I'm really going to be beastly. Once you get items, you turn into an absolute monster. You know, between the proc of your W and your capabilities, just with your items in your kit being highly mobile, you just are in a really good position to do a ton of damage at this point in the game. And you know, and really at this point I'm just focusing on continuing to farm, continuing to, you know, I got a huge minion wave here. This is exactly where I want to be. But then also sticking with my team, because Vayne is extremely squishy. I would say probably even more squishy than most AD carries, just because, you know, she relies so much on mobility to stay safe. She has a self-heal. She has a Tumble, a very spammable repositioning skill. You know, and because of that, they balance her by having extremely low base health stats. Her base health is probably one of the lowest in the game, I believe. Just extremely, extremely low health. You know, but, you know, it definitely requires that you stay with your team and that you are working together with your team. In this game, I had Malphite, I had Olaf. Both of them were building very tanky. Akali is more of the assassin. And then Sion also, who actually was in a bit of an off tank, also able to do some damage using his stun for more utility role. You know, just focusing on playing with my team. But, you know, just to kind of talk a little bit about Vayne as this game continues to go on here. Oh, Timo is just chilling. I did not even know that. Oh, we'll see him come back. You know, Vayne, I think, is a very interesting champion. I actually have been playing her quite a bit lately. I actually saw Voyboy playing Vayne top lane, which is something I'll talk about in a little bit. And it really got me thinking she's a really, really interesting champion, just because of her ability to absolutely hyper carry towards the end of a game. You know, with her true damage from her W, you know, especially in the League of War Monks. I get a nice stun there off on Riven, and she's gonna try to burst me down. I gotta use my flash to get out of there, and at least he's gonna end up picking the kill there, but that's okay. I got Riven. That's definitely what I wanted to do. But because people are tending to stack health with the you know, things like Warmogs and even like a Randuin's Omen, those items can really make an AD carry's job difficult. But because her W procs that percentage-based true damage, it really can work against people who are building those items. It can work against them quite strongly, and especially when you combine it with something like a Blade of the Ruin King, which I believe is the next item that I go for. Doing a lot of percentage-based damage, being able to really shred down high health targets is extremely important. Getting a least there. Now going after Riven. I think I'm going to pop my ultimate, get a couple of tumbles as we get into this skirmish here in the brush. Face checking probably not so great. A nice tumble there. Tumble, there's the kill. Okay. Relying on my W proc to just get that last little bit extra damage to get my 15th kill. But because Vayne has such an extremely high capability for doing just tremendous damage with her auto attacks, she's a really interesting and really, really powerful AD carry late game. And she definitely has a high skill cap, I would say, because of her Tumble and her E, her Condemn, just because of the synergy between those two skills. Is so high and interesting as I just absolutely eat that mushroom. That is not cool. Big chunk of my health bar gone there. But because you know, she's so reliant on positioning with some solid tumbles as well as some solid condemns to get those stuns off, she really has a high skill gap. You know, even she doesn't have any skill shots, but still, nonetheless, very, very high skill champion, capable of really, really wrecking enemy teams. You know, at this point, I'm just trying to stay behind my tanks. Got Malphite, Sion, and Olaf, who are very strong. Just really trying to make sure I'm not going to get caught out. I'm trying not to get you know, out into a position where Riven can burst me down. Just try to do a lot of damage, and really that's your main focus with Vayne, is positioning and damage. That's really the name of the game with her. And she's a really interesting champion. And to talk a little bit about some alternative builds, I think Vayne is actually very viable as I get a nice E there off on Riven, and oh, she's getting really low, but I just didn't want to dive those towers. But to talk a little bit about it, Voidboy has been playing Riven on his stream. Or not Riven, Vayne on his stream pretty frequently, and it's a very interesting build. It focuses on rushing Blade of the Ruin King to do that percentage-based damage. This is your primary damage tool. Then he goes into a Frozen Mallet, which I think is a really interesting item. I believe I go for a Frozen Mallet last in this game just because I felt like I wanted the extra slow that it provides. But Frozen Mallet is really, really nice for that Bruiser Vayne. Because it gives you that a little bit extra health. It also gives you that slow, which is extremely... It synergizes with Vayne so well because, you know, her passive allows you to really chase strongly. Her R also allows you to chase strongly. So to have that Frozen Mallet to be even better at chasing down enemies who get caught out of position, I think is a really good item on her if you're going for more of that Bruiser build. You know, but the Bruiser build is more dependent on you want to have an AD carry in the bottom lane, but if you're in the top lane and you're going against a melee champion and somebody who isn't quite as mobile, because Vayne has such high mobility, you can really wreak a lot of havoc on them. And also because her W does true damage and percentage-based damage, she's still able to do a lot of damage even if you don't build pure damage items, which I think is a really interesting part of her kit. You know, you can rely on the Blade of the Ruin King and her W as your primary damage dealing tools. Build a little bit more tanky. You know, so the total build would maybe look something like, you know, maybe for boots you would get Ninja Tabby or maybe Merc Treads instead of Berserker's Greaves. And maybe, you know, you stick with Blade of the Ruin King as your primary damage tool. Then go for something like a Frozen Mallet. And then even like a Warmogs. And then... you know, maybe still sneak a Phantom Dancer in there for that extra attack speed. But then maybe you know, just kind of depending on how things go, you know, you can maybe even do a Randuin's Omen just to be extra tanky against physical damage. You know, at this point, you can see how much damage Teemo's mushrooms do. They just absolutely shut us down. Kali and I just ate those mushrooms, and it really wrecked us for the team fight. But you know, for that Bruiser build, it's really interesting. I think it's quite viable. It definitely relies on positioning even more. You know, you need to get those 3 hits, otherwise you're pretty much useless. But it's a pretty viable build. I don't know if it's going to really catch on and be mainstream. And I do think that Vayne really excels as an AD carry, as we pick up a kill on Riven there. But because, you know, she's capable of damage, you know, you can build health and rely on her W for damage, rely on your positioning, rely on your stun. You know, she's really interesting and can be, I think, a little bit more versatile than some people expect. But, you know, really, I think with Vayne, you need to go into it just with a little bit more caution. I think that because, you know, she doesn't have any skill shots, but because her abilities rely so heavily on good positioning, I find that, you know, playing Vayne really requires that you have a really strong grasp on basic AD carry concepts, including positioning and timing and, you know, map knowledge and understanding just how much damage you can do and staking behind your tanks, knowing when to go into a fight and really lay down your damage. You know, you really need to be wary because, you know, she is strong, but she has a learning curve. She definitely is not an easy champion to pick up by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, I really wanted to go in there on a Condemn on Teemo. I would have had a kill, but she's a lot of fun to play too. She's a lot of fun. You know, she's so mobile, she's so powerful, just with the sheer damage, doing over 800 damage to these creeps each shot, just absolutely chunking these guys with each auto attack, up to 341 with a 1.8 attack speed. That's just crazy damage output. Even then when you combine my W on top of that, it just gets astronomical with the damage. But overall, she is a pretty incredible champion, and definitely worth considering if you're thinking about an AD carry. If you really like to be that traditional, you know, hyper carry late game monster, I think Vayne is a really cool and fun choice to play. You know, definitely, if you've got good positioning and you understand how to work with your teammates, you can be just an absolute beast. So definitely something that I think that everybody should consider. But also, you know, if it's your first AD carry, I would look elsewhere. I definitely think that there are. This was a crazy play here by Riven, who picks me off, is gonna pop a shield, get a Kali, and what is this? What is going on? One more, the triple on Sion. Unbelievable. Riven going 3-on-1. She got super fed this game and was very, very strong. She finally goes down to Olaf. But again, talking about Vayne, if you're looking to really kind of get into a serious AD carry, as I pick up a phage there, my build, I've got the Blade of the Ruin King and the Phantom Dancer for the attack speed, the Infinity Edge and the Phantom Dancer for the crit chance, Bloodthirster for some sustain. Now going into a phage, maybe I should have considered going for a Last Whisper. Riven at this point picked up a Thorn Mail, so that definitely would have been a good choice, but I felt like, if you look at the other team, Teemo is very squishy, Elise doesn't really have much in terms of defense, Pantheon doesn't really have much. He's got a giant spell, but really not that defensive, and then Ezreal is an AD carry. I felt like they were squishy enough that I could get a buy without a lot of armor as he I get picked off again here by Riven, and that just kind of shows you, I think, with Vayne, I was capable of tremendous damage, but with some poor positioning in these last two fights, Riven was able to pick me off. She did a good job of focusing me, to her credit, but that's definitely something to keep in mind, that she can be extremely strong, but she can also be pretty difficult to play. Finally picking up my Frozen Mallet, giving me that a little bit of extra health, which I think I needed. And also the slow is the primary reason why I love the Frozen Mallet. But all in all, Vayne is definitely strong. She's very, very strong. I think she has that hyper carry title for a reason. Again, those Teemo mushrooms just chunking me absolutely massively. Just crazy, crazy amounts of damage. But a fun champion to play, and definitely one worth considering as we kind of are pushing this game to the end. I think in the end we just had a little bit of better team composition. Elise had a really difficult game. Pantheon also didn't play very well. And Teemo, he actually was doing quite well. He's got a lot of AP now, a lot of attack speed, which is definitely not a bad build, but Teemo is not that strong late game, and Riven is extremely fed, but she also really doesn't have anything else. She doesn't have anybody else to back her up. Ezreal is definitely behind me in terms of items. I've had these two items specifically for a long time now, and he's definitely behind me. I am way ahead of him in terms of items. As we've got a pretty solid lead here, and I think at this point we're just going to try to push the game out. Let's see here if we can get some nice action off on Elise, and actually didn't even get an assist on that. I was just chilling, just hanging out. But at this point, I'm going to dive in, can I get a pick off here? I got a nice Condemn off on Riven, and she does escape very, very low. Wow, she was low. As Cyan goes down, and there's the GG. So that's it. That's Vayne for you. She's really an interesting. Her all of her abilities really synergize well as that very high mobility, high skill, very much reliant on positioning and just raw sheer damage with her auto attacks. Definitely not the easiest AD carry in the world, but yet one who is very, very strong and powerful, capable of just being that absolute hyper carry. Went 17, 7, and 8. I think I was able to show some good condemns, getting those stuns, which can lead to really easy kills. But also had some times where I got out of position and Riven was able to finish me off. But overall, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're considering Riven, or if you're considering Vayne, I definitely would recommend her for. She's a really powerful AD carry who can just really wreck when you get to late game. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you soon.